My name's Brian and welcome back to Desert Theory. Well, tonight we are going to be taking these rear CVs apart, taking the axles off, and taking this whole hub assembly off.
Oh, headache.
So what we're trying to do is all those cages, all those bearings, all those CVs, all of that is a huge wear point on the car. We want to get it torn apart and then inspected to make sure it's good to go. We don't need to order parts before the next race. He came out and warmed the car up, got that transaxle drained out. So when we pull these bolts on these CVs right here, you'll see them in a second, that transmission fluid will actually drain out of there if we have any left in there. So
we didn't see any big chunks on the transmission drain plug, which is magnetic, so that's a really good sign. So we wanted to make sure we didn't have any big problems with the transmission that needed addressed. So oil looked good, and so we're gonna start on these axles and CVs and see what else we gotta fix.
okay, so what Kelly was just talking about there is the plug on the bottom of the transaxle, which is right here. Now, this is a foreign transaxle and it doesn't usually come with that plug. But when we had Kevin McMullen rebuild this, we had him install this drain plug and it has a magnet on it to catch all that debris like Kelly was talking. It'll be a real good indicator for a team that doesn't have the money to rebuild this every race if there's a problem when we see metal on the end of that plug. The reason a Ford and transaxle doesn't have that plug originally is because Ford and transaxles are the top of the line. What they expect, what they hope you'll actually do, is that you'll take that transaxle out, send it to them, have them inspect it, rebuild it, and then ship it back on every race. Just our race team can't afford to do that. So that's why that plug's in there. On this one, we have the two CV boots pulled back, exposing the bolts to hold the CVs on. So what Kelly's gonna do is rattle these out, pull this CV out. We'll push this axle through here a little bit, pull a circlip off, and then we'll be able to pull that out of there. So these come off pretty simple now that we know what we're doing.
That thing will be covered in a layer of anti-seize for the next 100 years.
It will be anyway.
Well, there we go. Okay, where's the... Okay, can you spin the axe, or here, let's spin it like this. Oh, look at you, look at you. Sly cat. All right, where are we, Bri? I can't see the...
Spin it more.
Where's the tail? Is that it? There it is. Is that thing still on?
Yeah.
You probably remember this from episode 47. And I sat at that parts cleaner for like 2 days, it felt like, cleaning these CVs. So we're gonna start that again.
This is the hardest
This is the Bell Ray
thing to film.
anti-seize, which if anyone knows what anti-seize is, it is straight from hell. But it works. I guess we'll use it. Yeah.
Okay, so we just got the other axle and CV off the transaxle out. Now we're gonna swap over to my side here and do that same thing. Kelly's up top, he's working on the CVs, getting those cleaned up in the solvent tank. So we'll just kind of work on this until I need help getting that circlip out right there. Okay, so I just came loose on all of these bolts in the back. So there's just a whole bunch of little grade 8 bolts, whatever they are, that hold this whole hub assembly on. So now all those are loose. So we'll sneak over here. Hey guys, this is my dad, Steve. He got us. My dad and Kelly's dad are the ones that got us all into this stuff. So he's in town watching our boys run track. So he's out here tonight, and he just became a cameraman.
Oh,
hey.
There we go.
So what we're doing is we're just going to pull this hub off now. So that whole thing comes apart as just an assembly. We can work on it on the bench instead of in the car. It's awesome. And hopefully we pull this apart. Bearing, CV, everything looks good. So we'll get to taking this apart in just a second.
You talking over there?
Okay, we got the first hub over on the bench. We'll work on getting the second one off over here. So my dad was just talking about the amount of power this car has. It's just more horsepower than the other cars we've had. It can also go through the whoops faster. So even though this thing handles so much better and that wheel goes up and down great, it's still probably coming up off the ground and then taking that abuse of catching and all these CVs, all these hubs, all this stuff. Just takes more of a beating on a bigger car like this than it did in our Class 5.
Everything's bigger, but
yeah,
it's also going a lot faster and a lot more horsepower.
And there are guys that have 5 cars that have some big stuff and they drive the heck out of them. So it's not that a 5 car is not super competitive or couldn't be faster than we drove ours. But for our budget, we had to drive within our budget. And we drove slower in the 5 car to stay within our budget than we have to in this car.
Make 2 axles
I know.
out of that.
I know. I remember those days.
But then, you know, the turbo CV.
If I had it to do again, I'd remember not to wear my Millennial Farmer shirt out to do CVs. I'm sorry,
Hey,
Zach.
That's good for Zach.
Yeah, this is good for
It's
Zach.
actually business for Zach.
Sorry for Brian, happy for Zach. Oh yeah, you see the way it throws that never sees as I undo that? That's real nice. Real nice. Zach. So Zach's gonna sign a petition. He'd like everybody to do CVs in his shirt.
Here, here. If the petition gets signed, I think we should get a cut.
That's a good point. Just a reminder that we pulled those bolts out of here. Those bolts go all the way down through the CV body. And then this one's upside down, so they come up into the steel flange on the back side of this aluminum flange. So you can see these bolts right here. Those bolt that aluminum piece. The aluminum piece is not for anything to ride on. It's just for the CV cover, the leather boot or the plastic boot to go on. So there we have it. So we'll start getting this apart. And you remember how we fought this. We're kind of getting better at figuring it out. So hopefully it's not such a... hopefully it's just an easy little thing here. Maybe.
I feel like we were just doing this.
We were just doing this. It was one of the last things we did before we had the car together. But...
and we're doing it again right now because of the rain and the snow. Right? What do you think the service interval will be on these things, Brian?
oh,
Like,
Kelly.
2 short races, probably.
2 short races. I think as long as that race was, I think it would be a good idea to do this anyway.
I agree. That thing's the second most expensive thing on the car. Or right there, the motor.
Okay.
We're like, we gotta save that. And so he's just like, yeah, just feather it in first and grab second and give it a handful of throttle. Well, by the time you get this thing into second and give it a handful of throttle, usually you're at the next corner, and it's almost
And then, you know what I did? I got tie rods off of like a 64 Chevy truck.
Yeah.
Because they're,
Those were
quarter-inch thick, you know?
Yeah, those
and
were.
I put a cold rolled steel bar in them
Yeah.
and tacked them and used those as. And
Still running Volkswagen spindles?
What's that?
Volkswagen spindles?
No, I bought some Myers.
Okay, so we got the one bearing apart. I didn't get most of it on film, but now we're gonna work on the second one. And what we're doing is getting this seal off to expose this bearing on this hub. And it's kind of a fight. It's hard to get in here. You can't get in here like this or with something you really need like this and then pry on it, because you're gonna smash this bearing, and that thing is about $500. So we don't want to do that. So I got this little shim system set up here. I'm gonna do this, and if somebody has a really easy way, you can send me a video of you doing it to show me how I can do it easier. So using this to pull down the whole thing, then I'm sneaking this one underneath and getting it all the way up underneath that seal. Then I can really pry on it. Why not? Ooh, it's hard. And by not getting on that the bearing at all. So it's kind of a weird way to do it, but it worked pretty good last time. So we'll just kind of do this for a second and see what we come up with. There, we got it to move just a little bit. So I'll kind of show you. So see how on this side that seal's pushed down in there, and then we come over to where I just did it. So I didn't move it very much. I just bent it on this one, but on the second one I moved that up to where it's almost flush with that hub. So getting it moving. So Kelly was kind of asking, like, man, it'd be nice to do this some way that didn't damage this seal, so we didn't have to buy it, pay for it, and get it out. But man, they're a tight fit on these ones. So just kind of sneaking it around there, bringing it out the whole way. Getting closer. So now that's where I kind of fight holding it down with this board the way I am. I start running into bringing that seal up into the area I'm trying to hold down. So I'm kind of trying to sneak a little farther away there. Okay, it has a loud pop, but kind of shot the bearing out of there, but it doesn't look like it actually pressed on it or did anything. So, but yeah, I can see how that thing's just really in there. Phew! Another one out.
Success.
You got that thing pop out of there?
Yeah, I did.
Damn. Look, please be okay, Barry. All right, Kelly's working on these hubs, all the pieces out of there. Looks like he's on the kind of last piece here, so that's pretty cool. Including, you know, we have the star, the CV, the two bearings, the outer part of the hub, and then that the backing plate that crushes it all together, and then the one that holds. Yep. The one
CV
that holds
boot,
the CV boot.
and the CV's thread into this guy. Yeah. So we're just cleaning all these parts.
Looking good.
Fun job.
Okay, so Kelly's bringing me all the parts that he's cleaned, and he's putting them all on this table. Now what we're gonna do here is we're just gonna use the air gun, and we're gonna blow all these out, clean them up, kind of do more of an inspection just to make sure they're, one, clean enough, and then two, we don't see any visual cracks. We'll do all of our magnafluxing, stuff like that in the next couple days here. But as far as tonight, we're just getting them dry to where they're clean, dry, and not rusting. Okay, so we're wrapping up for tonight. Kelly's just kind of going through and inspecting a little bit. Also, everything looks pretty good. We know that we're going to have to replace some stars. These are the stars. They've just reached end of life. So, no reason to risk having those things go bad during a race. So we'll have to get those on the way. Bearings look great. Didn't have any water issues during that last race. So that was good. I was worried about that. Silcock, he had warned us about it, and it's been on my mind for a while now, but we haven't had time. We've just been too busy with kids sports, and so it was just kind of one of those deals where we looked in there, we ran it up and down the road, and kept it moving quite a few times just to make sure that it wasn't rusting, but it looked good. So we're on to going back together probably. Well, if we get the stars, we'll start going back together, at least with our rear hubs, next week. So kind of get that on the way back together. So we need this thing mobile, like we've talked about multiple times. We need it mobile for some sponsorship stuff, going and talking to people, and the race is coming up. So bunch of stuff coming up. We got air filter to clean. Kelly, what else do we have on our list that we need to do before the next race?
Well, we're going to do a leak down check on the motor. We're going to do a compression test. We drain the motor, oil, and trans fluid, send them for analysis. So we'll get that back to find out if there's anything major metal in the motor. So then we need to do a compression test, leak down, said that. And then we're going to go ahead and probably, let's see, rear suspension, front suspension. What do we want to do up there?
I think we'll have time.
Might do the steering box.
Yeah, I think we'll have time to go
box.
through the steering box. I think that makes sense at this point.
Yep.
So we'll run through that. If anybody watches our Instagram page, you know we're working on our new jack. So that we'll have to get that mounted up in this car. So a few things, not too much. Definitely not like the full winter prep. So that's about it.
Yeah, so front suspension's all good. Just nut and bolting the front suspension from the last race. We'll run that another race. Steering rack, we'll pull that apart. Do that one. Oh, we're cleaning up the radio.
Yes.
We figured out our intercom had a pinched cable. It got wedged between the seat and the firewall, and it pinched the cable. So we had sketchy intercom at the last race. So we found that. New cables are ordered. We're going to rewire the radio. We're going to put an inline filter because we're getting some feedback when the engine's running. So PCI is hooking us up with that stuff. Yeah, so that'll be good. Get our comms working good. Cleaning up this area a little bit. And what else?
I think that's about it. So obviously we need some new air hose.
That was on the list.
Well, that's about it for tonight. Thanks for watching and hanging out with us. Please like and subscribe. No yawning. It's only midnight.
Bedtime.